Though its future may be uncertain due to likely cuts in state funding for youth at risk grants, the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Holyoke is already looking for new grants to support their work keeping young people away from street gangs. It's called the El Camino Project. Megan Grant, Director of Program Development at the Boys and Girls Club, and mentors Israel Rivera and Damion Johnson came in to talk about El Camino and involving former gang members in keeping younger kids away from trouble.
El Camino is basically a mentoring program. I think our overall goal is to reduce youth violence. And so we work with a very targeted small population of youth, the ones that are most likely to either be victims of violence or commit violent acts. So we work with kids that have emotional behavior disorders. Many of them have already left school. Some of them are actively gang involved, or they may have a parent or a brother that's also that's in a gang, and so they're at risk of joining a gang. And many of them have already been through DYS or have arrest records already. So it's a very small portion of very high need kids.
And the name itself fascinates me. El Camino, and in Spanish, in English, it translates to the road or the highway.
Yeah.
What an interesting choice.
Yeah. Well, I like it, the fact that it's not just one word. It kind of means the path, the journey, the steps, and people kind of take it differently. So, yeah. I mean, our idea is that we're offering an alternative path, but that we're not designating where the person's going. It's more just we're offering a path somewhere.
Gentlemen, let me talk with you, Israel Rivera, Damion Johnson. Your mentors, you are somebody who sits with these kids, stands with these kids, and basically shares with them. And we were just talking before, and you've been there. You've been where they are, and that's what makes it possible to be a mentor. You've both started to share some history, and you've got stories to tell. Israel.
I mean, me personally, I've been through being from the flats, growing up in Holyoke. I've been through a lot of what these guys go through. So me or Damon and I, we try and model for these kids what more or less would be expected as a behavior, even though, like, coming from that situation, they probably have never seen anybody like us or have experienced the things that we have that are in the position to be a mentor, in the position to be able to model for them how they should be. A lot of these kids don't have father figures. A lot of these kids really are pretty much out there kids. You know what I mean? I mean, Damon could probably speak more to it because he speaks a lot. He works with them a lot more hands-on on a daily basis. But when I'm there, I try to, like, as much as possible, be the best positive role model in front of them so that they can see somebody like me that is something similar to what they were as children or as what they are now can come out of it, you know what I mean, can move forward.
And I want to get to Damion, but I also want to compliment you. You told us also before that after all you've been through,
Yep.
You're getting ready to graduate from Holyoke Community College,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Next
Good.
week.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Damion Johnson. Your man gives you a pretty good build up there. But tell me about, I mean, what are you trying to say to these kids? What are you trying to get across to them when you're working with them? And as he said, you're working with them pretty much every day and on a very regular basis.
For the most part. I also see a lot of these individuals outside of the program. I'm from Holyoke, so a few of these young men know me from where I was before, so that has a huge impact on the way I present myself to them. I tell everybody who I interact with the truth. I didn't speak this way about 4 years ago. I was a completely different human being, and I tell them the truth. I was like, no matter how many people are trying to bring you down, no matter how many times you've been arrested, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to decide what you're going to do with yourself, and it's up to you to make that change. I did it. If I'm capable of doing it, you are too. And it's just my overall experience in that city, with those individuals on a personal level, and of course my own history and the things that I had to overcome to get to where I'm at today.
Mickey Grant, let me ask you, when we were planning this in the last few days through emails back and forth, we discussed, did we want to try and have some of the mentees in? Yeah. And I expressed concerns about age and privacy, and you said, it's not so much privacy as it is really a question of privacy and safety in some cases, to have these folks out saying who they are, that they're in the program, and that's something most of us,
right.
Obviously, I didn't even think of that. That's
Yeah.
a real factor to these young people.
Yeah, I mean, the kids are in our program for a reason, and a lot of them are in our program because they have either active gang involvement or they have parents that are known gang members or brothers that are known gang members. And so to put them in on a seat here talking about them being in the program, right, puts them at risk. Some of them are already at risk in the streets, and that's part of what these two gentlemen and other people that we work with do, is try to alleviate that risk. Getting them even to our program sometimes is dangerous. We have to pick them up and bring them because of issues that are going on. But it's the key that I don't think I mentioned in the introduction about the program, that the mentees is, they're obviously who we're trying to serve. The mentors really, I believe, are the heart and soul of the program. They're what makes El Camino unique, and that is that we engage exclusively people who have personal experiences with violence. So many of them are previous gang members, but even if they're not, they either experienced violence themselves, they've lost close family members to violence, or they actually were committed violence. And so I think as a youth violence prevention program, there's a lot of good work going on in Holyoke and in other cities, and I think people are finally waking up to the fact that it's great to have law enforcement and community-based and schools and the faith community involved. If you don't directly engage people that are actively being violent, or who have been violent, or who are in gangs, or who might retaliate, you're only solving one part of the program. You're a problem, I'm sorry. So that's one of the missions of the program, and so I think that's why these two gentlemen and the rest of the people we work with are being so successful.
Yeah, gentlemen, let me ask you, Damion, and then Israel, and we've only got a couple minutes left, but it's tough in the inner city to stay away from the gang, and I would imagine it's even tougher if you get involved to get away from the gang. That's what you're doing is all about, trying to get to these people, these young people about, correct?
Of course. I tell them all the same thing pretty much. I was there. I was in a gang. I got jumped in, roped in by older gentlemen and everything. But at the end of the day, all those people who say that that's your brother and that they're going to be there no matter what, at the end of the day, they're only looking out for themselves. A lot of older men in Holyoke are targeting younger gentlemen to join these gangs because obviously they can be manipulated.
Well, it's great work you're doing. Thank you all for what you are doing for these young people, and thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.